Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike here again with Cashback Realty, and I have kind of a tragic story to bring to you guys. I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine. He's also a broker, owns multiple properties, and we were talking about him having to evict a couple of his clients. He was talking about how bad the last couple of months have been because he had to evict, I think it was 3 or 4 different tenants. This guy's portfolio has about 50 or 60 properties in it. So all things considered, only having to evict 4 people is actually not that bad. You know, I was telling him about this story. I'm always having a conversation with him about delegating certain things that he needs to do. But he's just a really hands-on type of guy. And, you know, he'll go, post eviction notices himself. He'll go and collect rent himself and, all of these things. And granted, he's not elderly. He's an able-bodied guy. However, we still have to be careful because this is one of the most gruesome stories I've ever heard of. Let me play the video so you guys can check it out.
Services for Frances Walker will be private at her family's request. Her wake today and funeral services tomorrow and Saturday. Ironically, Walker was the organist for so many funeral services over the years.
She played the church organ at churches and funerals. She was so kind. She gave everyone a chance.
Walker was killed earlier this month. One of her tenants has been charged after parts of Walker's body were found in her freezer. A Cook County prosecutor said during the suspect's bond hearing, Walker put an eviction notice on the suspect's door the day before the murder. Relatives say Walker called police many times to have that tenant removed.
The whole situation is hard for me. It's easy for me to talk about her, but it's hard for me to deal with the situation.
The city's Office of Emergency Management and Communications rejected our Freedom of Information request to clarify how many times police responded to Walker's home, citing that information would jeopardize a police investigation. However, ABC 7 News has learned police responded to Walker's home 5 times in October.
They have rights as a tenant, but then also if you fear for your safety or if there's issues, then the landlord should have rights, not only as the landlord, but as the cohabiter of the domain.
The law is forever seeking a balance to try to protect tenants' rights and at the same time landlord rights.
Gil Sofer is ABC 7's legal analyst.
It didn't cross the line sufficiently so that the police could actually take her into custody and take her away. That's the bigger problem here, even more so than however long she would be permitted under the law to stay in that apartment.
And you see, one of the things the attorney talked about there, guys, is the balance that the government is perpetually trying to put into place. It's never easy trying to balance the rights of tenants and the rights of landlords, right? Because tenants certainly have rights. They have a right to a quiet enjoyment of the property that they leased. They have a right to not be harassed by a landlord, et cetera, et cetera. Landlords have a duty to protect their tenants, right? In the case of this property, which was like a tenement house that had multiple, residents living in one property. I think it was like a 3-story or 2-story or something like that. They have a right to feel safe. They have a right to know who is living among them. And this is one of the things that I explain to potential clients that I work with who are looking to rent a property. The reason you have to go through this vetting process and pay for a rental application and have your background check run and your credit check and your income verification is you want the same thing done to the people who are going to be living next to you in that apartment complex. I mean, especially if you're a parent, right? You want to know that the guy living next to you is not, a danger to your children. You want to know that the guy living next to you isn't, hiding out under some assumed name because he, committed a robbery in another state or something like that. So a woman accused of killing and dismembering the 69-year-old owner of a boarding home on the northwest side pleaded not guilty to murder charges Wednesday. Sandra Kulalu, 36, also pleaded not guilty to concealment of a homicidal death, aggravated battery, robbery, and dismembering a human body in connection with the killing of Frances Walker in October. So not only did she murder this woman, she dismembered the body. And I'm trying to reserve judgment here for what this woman did to this old lady, allegedly. Some other reports from her family mention that she had ongoing, psychological issues. But it's hard to get past how egregious and gruesome this was. It goes on to say another boarding house tenant had reported Walker missing October 10th. The tenant also warned police about Kalalu, who had earlier hauled a large plastic bag to a tow truck. When officers arrived at the home to investigate the missing person report, Kalalu came out of the wood-framed house carrying a black bag. After speaking with the officers, she consented to a search of her room, right? So, it looks like she got caught red-handed there, presumably with this woman's dismembered body in the black bag. The officers found nothing incriminating and sent her on her way. She got into a tow truck and she called and was driven to Foster Beach. Once there, she took the bag and dumped its contents into a trash can. Now, this is the part I don't understand. Like, she's carrying a large black bag. Police came and investigated. I guess if they're there to investigate a missing persons report, there's no way you could know that the person you're looking for or pieces of the person you're looking for might be in that black garbage bag, right? But Jesus. Kalalu was arrested after pulling a knife on the tow truck driver when he refused to take her to another location. Officers found another garbage bag in the back of the truck. They obtained a search warrant and found part of Walker's remains in a freezer, as well as evidence of blood throughout the home, including on 2 knives. Prosecutors said Walker had served Kalalu with an eviction notice before her attack. Kalalu is due back in court December 20th. Wow. My heart goes out to this lady's, family. She seemed like she was a great landlord. She was loved by, most of her tenants. And unfortunately, this woman's kindness was rewarded with a gruesome act. But I want to focus on 2 takeaways from this horrible story. Number 1, it's if you're a landlord, or if you're an aspiring investor, or if you're someone who is getting into real estate, understand that this industry is not without its dangers, both physically and financially. I've worked with plenty of landlords who, they wanted to get in the industry and quickly realized that it's not for them, whether, they can't sustain the financial losses that come with vacancies of their properties, or just the physical danger of, like my buddy that I told you about. Some of the stories he's told me about going to try to collect rent and evicting people who haven't paid rent for, months or sometimes even over a year are straight out of a movie. So one of the things you might want to consider is a property manager or a property management company. Collecting rent, evicting folks when they don't pay their rent is not for the faint of heart. And the second takeaway from a story like this is when you go to apply for an apartment and they're extremely stringent with letting you into that property, that's actually a good thing. I'm going to leave it there for now, guys. I just wanted to bring you this story because I felt like there were some takeaways and possibly even help someone to not be in a situation like this. Once again, my heart goes out to Miss Walker's family. Share this video with someone you think might find it valuable or useful, folks. Talk to you soon.